what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome to Milk Carton Mysteries, episode number 30. The big 3-0. We're finally there. We've done it. 30 episodes. Crazy to think that we've gotten so many episodes now. I'm definitely thankful for the audience that's been coming in. I'm thankful for the people that have been paying attention. And I'm thankful for the people who like this content as much as I do. Today on the show, I've got 3 stories to look at here. One of them is about a man who murdered his father. And on a day pass from jail, essentially, vanished. This is happening in Australia. We've also got Christie Wilson, who was found dead years and years and years ago. She went missing years and years and years ago. When there was a conviction for her murder, her body has been discovered. And then the Ogre of Ardennes has been linked to the death of a young girl who went missing back in 2003. So there's a lot to get to today. So we'll just dive right into it. Again, if you guys are listening to this over on iTunes or Spotify or Stitcher, I think Stitcher, we're going to be on here pretty soon. Google Podcasts, I really appreciate it. Be sure to head over to anchor.fm/Milk Carton Mysteries if you want to submit any kind of voicemail. You can download the app and you can send a comment in. If you have an update on a case or if you want to give your thoughts on a case, you have any theories, I am more than happy to play them. So definitely check that out. Also, facebook.com/groups/the Milk Carton is the best way to stay up on everything. But also be sure to subscribe wherever you might be finding this podcast. All right. So first things first, let's talk about the Christie Wilson situation. So 15 years ago, Christie Wilson vanished from Thunder Valley Casino. Her body has finally been found. Now, the reason why this story to me is interesting is because back in 2001, I actually worked at a casino doing security. And there's a lot that goes on in a casino. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of little pieces, all these things. So even though there's cameras everywhere, that doesn't mean they're watching. And this story has been interesting to kind of catch up on. So here's what we know. In the early mornings of October 5th, 2005, 27-year-old Christie Wilson left Thunder Valley Casino that night after gambling, and she wasn't alone. When a missing persons report was filed, Placer County investigators immediately pulled up surveillance footage from the casino northeast of Sacramento. They watched Wilson under no apparent duress, enjoying herself like any other patron. Then they spotted a man who kept striking up conversations with her, hour after hour. Around 1 a.m., the man and Wilson left together. The last bit of surveillance footage showed them walking out to the parking lot. And I don't get that. Personally, I don't get that. Why didn't the parking lot have security camera footage? I mean, why not? I don't get that. We had security camera footage of the parking lot, so I don't get that at all. Using Thunder Valley's player membership system, the man was then identified as Mario Flavio Garcia, a 53-year-old IT specialist who was then working as a project manager for Sutter Health. Garcia, who was reportedly sporting a black eye, told detectives that he did meet Wilson that night, but that she had later gone back to the casino to receive her cell phone. And of course, this was not corroborated at all by the casino's surveillance footage. And yeah, I mean, again, if they're going to have you, when you walk into a casino, they have ID now, like they have facial recognition software that can ID you and it will track you through the casino. That is the crazy stuff. You think, everyone talks about Big Brother. Everyone talks about the government having this kind of capabilities. The private sector that's going to be developing it the most, casinos, man, pay attention to them. Anyway, when Placer County sheriffs served a warrant on Garcia's car, they found Wilson's hair and spots of blood in the vehicle. However, no other traces of her were ever discovered. And 2 years later, Garcia here was convicted of first-degree murder in the first case in Placer County history where prosecutors were actually able to secure a conviction with no body. So while a man is behind bars for murder, she still remained missing. And that is crazy that they are able to get, they found her hair and they found spots of blood in her vehicle and she hasn't been seen anymore. And he's got a black eye and they left together. Clearly something is rotten in Denmark. Right. And this guy kind of looks like a sicko anyway. Now on Monday, so this past Monday, 15 years after her disappearance, the Placer County Sheriff's Office announced they finally found Christie Wilson's body. Last week, investigators went to Garcia's former home in Auburn and begun searching anew, scanning the 4.5-acre property with ground-penetrating radar. a few areas of interest were located. See, I didn't know they had ground penetrating radar now. This is going to really help when it comes to trying to find bodies located in shallow graves. Now, detectives and investigators searching one of those areas located and recovered skeletal remains, which were brought to the Placer County morgue for examination. Dental records have confirmed the remains on the property formerly owned by Garcia are those of Christie Wilson. So the man followed her out, beat her up, put her in his car, drove her to his place, did God knows what, we don't know yet, killed her, and then buried her 15 years ago in his property, thinking he would get away with it. And then, of course, DNA evidence, hair, blood, put this man away. For what purpose, man? You just wanted to you just wanted some sex. If you're in Northern California, you're by Sacramento, all right? Silicon Valley ain't that far. I guarantee you there's working girls. You could get that. Why kill? I know it's a power move. I get that. I understand that, but it's absolutely disgusting. At a press conference on Monday, Wilson's mother, Debbie Boyd, expressed her gratitude to the investigators and said finding Christie's body will enable the family to close this horrible chapter in their lives. Garcia, who is now 67 years old, is serving a sentence of 59 years to life at the R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility near San Diego. And this guy is serving the rest of his life behind bars for killing a 27-year-old in the prime of her life. Just snuffing it out, burying her in some grave on his property, thinking no one would ever find her. And for a decade and a half, no one did. But technology will always catch up to these people. We're going to be hearing about these crimes being solved, these horrific crimes being solved via DNA, and all that stuff is going to be happening a lot more. Look at the Golden State Killer who just, I think he was sentenced to 26 life sentences. I mean, the dude's going to be dead in like a year anyway. But they got him because of DNA. They got Mario Garcia here because of DNA found in his car. It's gonna bring so many people to justice. The sad thing is, it's not going to prevent the loss of life, as in the case of 27-year-old Christie Wilson, who at this point would have been just a couple years older than me. I'm 38. She would have been in her early 40s, and that's really tragic. As always, I do want to hear your thoughts. Facebook.com/groups/The Milk Carton. So let's talk about this 2003 mystery coming out of France. The missing schoolgirl has been linked to a man known as the Ogre of Ardennes. And this man is a monster. So here's what we know. The former wife of the so-called Ogre of Ardennes has told police investigators that her husband abducted, raped, and murdered 9-year-old Estelle Mouzin, who vanished without a trace on her way home from school 17 years ago. Fresh DNA evidence and a supermarket receipt from 2003 now actually support the claim. So there could actually be some closure for the disappearance of Estelle Mouzin. Again, no body. Now, Michael Fourniret, I'm mispronouncing that. I'm just calling him the Ogre. A man serving a life sentence for a sequence of sexual attacks and murders dating back to the 80s is now 78 years old and suffers from memory loss. Until recently, the Ogre had consistently denied any responsibility for the abduction and death of Estelle Mouzin, despite in 2004 confessing to sexual crimes and the murder of 9 people, 8 females and 1 male. In fact, looking at his Wikipedia page here, we can see that Michael Paul Fourniret, also known as the Ogre of Ardennes, is a French serial killer who confessed to killing 12 people in France and Belgium between 1987 and 2003. And since Estelle went missing in 2003, we can kind of assume that that's probably tied together. After he was arrested in June 2003 for the attempted kidnapping of a girl, he confessed to killing 9 people, 8 females, and 1 male in 2004. Having been informed on by his then wife, the Ogre was convicted of 7 of those murders in 2008 and sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, while his wife was given a minimum term of 28 years for complicity. So she was in on it. The wife was completely in on it. Now, Estelle Mouzin was 9 when she disappeared in January 2003. Keep in mind, he got busted in January 2003. While she was walking home from the school in the town of Guermontes, I'm terrible with French. Jarbo's French, but I can't speak it, which is 30 kilometers east of Paris. During routine questioning earlier this year, the Ogre for the first time admitted that it was possible he was the killer, adding that the circumstances, the events, and the ways things happen were beyond his capacity to remember. This is a 78-year-old senile man with most likely dementia, who has secrets upon secrets upon secrets locked away in his brain that are just trapped there. Because I guarantee you there's more than what he confessed to. Now, asked if he had brought the kidnapped child to a deserted family house in the northeastern Ardennes region, the self-confessed rapist and serial killer replied that the accusation was reasonable, not improbable, claiming that he couldn't be more precise. I mean, at this point, the guy knows he's at the end of his life. His memory is dying. His cognitive abilities are fading. He knows what he's done. He's like, screw it. I'll just say, he says here, when asked where he might have buried her body, he replied with, "It's very difficult. I haven't a clue." And that's like the worst damn thing, man, because, you want him to be able to like admit admit that he did it and try to find the body to give closure to the family. 17 years. 17 years. Now, the former wife does make an accusation. She says this is happening in January of this year. His former wife, Monique Olivier, herself serving a life sentence with no possibility of parole for 28 years for her role in some of the abductions and killings, said her husband was guilty of the murder. She told police that the ogre abducted Mouzin from the town on January 9th, 2003, and took her to Ville-sur-le-Mist, 200 kilometers away, in the Ardennes department, where he held her captive, raped, and strangled her. She was unable to provide police with any indication as to where her husband had in fact disposed of the body. Earlier this summer, though, a detailed police search of the unoccupied house, which formerly belonged to the ogre's sister, failed to find any trace of the missing girl. I mean, you're looking for traces after 17 years. It's not impossible. It's just improbable. I give him credit for trying, but I mean, I don't know, man. But they apparently did find DNA in the building that appears to confirm that she was indeed held there. Now, I'd like to know what kind of DNA. And most likely going to be blood, maybe dried blood. But how would they have her? I mean, I don't know how they had her DNA. A receipt for food from a local supermarket dated 2 days after her disappearance was also found in the search, supporting the ogre's ex-wife's claim that the serial killer was at the house at the time. So he was in that area. They found DNA of what they believed to be this 9-year-old girl. And they are trying to get closure. They're trying to get information. They're trying to get whatever they can out of this guy. And they can't because he doesn't remember. Well, you should have remembered fucking 17 years ago, you son of a bitch. Jesus. Anyway. I just hate seeing it. Now, let's talk about this guy coming out of Sydney. This is a story that is going to be really taking Sydney by storm, I think. A missing man who murdered his father escapes while on day release. So, yeah. You know how that is, right? You got a guy murders somebody, and then ends up getting a day release from prison. Now, granted, the reason why is not for, it's because there's mental health issues that his attorneys are able to argue. But still, come on, right? This is what it says. A man with severe mental issues who slit a father's throat in 2002. I thought it was his father, but okay. In 2002, has escaped while on day release from the New South Wales Central West and may have made his way to Sydney. Michael Stryker, 48 years old, was last seen leaving a store on Paisley Street, Orange, about 10:30 a.m. on Monday. He was then seen an hour later in the Bathurst area. Now, it's understood that Stryker may have made his way to Sydney on Tuesday. Mr. Stryker is housed at a mental health facility in Bloomfield Hospital in Orange, which is managed by New South Wales Health. Now, they said here in a statement, New South Wales Health cannot discuss the specific circumstances for a patient who has appeared before the Mental Health Review Tribunal due to the requirements under the Mental Health Act of 2007. I.e., what does that mean? We ain't going to say shit, is what that means. We ain't going to say a thing. They don't want to be held responsible for the fact that they let this guy out on a day pass and he escaped. This looks bad for them. This looks really bad for them, especially if anyone else gets hurt in the process. Now, here's what we know. In 2002, Mr. Stryker, who at the time was known as Michael Sorrell, murdered 45-year-old Michael Furlong of Kensington outside a Western Sydney's electronics store. Mr. Stryker was found asleep in his car with a knife and Mr. Furlong's wallet the next day. In 2003, Justice Greg James said after examining 3 psychiatric reports that he was satisfied Mr. Stryker was suffering from paranoid schizophrenia at the time of the offense and was therefore not guilty by reason of mental illness. Mr. Stryker's lawyers told the court that his client admitted to causing Furlong's death. And a psychiatric evaluation tendered to the court says that at the time of the act charged, he was suffering from a deficit or a defect of reason in the form of a delusional belief and was not aware that his actions were morally wrong. And I don't know how much of that I believe. I know mental health is something, I don't want to disparage it. People go through their problems. They have they get weird, things in their head. I get that. But the guy still did it. And yeah, it's been 18 years, but like the dude clearly has a bit more mental cognitive ability than people give him credit for. Now, the court then heard that Mr. Stryker has had a long history of mental illness and spent time in psychiatric facilities in the United Kingdom, Western Australia, and Queensland. So this guy was already a bit of a nutter. One psychiatric evaluation revealed that Stryker believed federal police had drugged his toothpaste in order to read his thoughts through vibrations in his larynx. Drugged his toothpaste in order to read his thoughts. Okay. I mean, that's something that's a new one. That's a new one on me. Now, the evaluation added Stryker was under the delusional belief that Mr. Furlong was a federal policeman and that the federal policemen were trying to kill him. So he killed this guy thinking he was a Fed, slit his throat, took his wallet, and then got busted the next day, and again, they let him out on a day pass. I'm going to keep harping back on that point. I'm sorry. He wanted to send the federal police a message that he wanted them to leave him alone, the report said. So he killed this guy thinking he was a Fed to send a message to other Feds to back off. That never works. And in no reality would that ever work. In no cognitive reality that we experience would the Feds ever look at a death of one of their own as a reason to back off. That's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Now, police have concerns for his welfare as he requires ongoing treatment. Oh, really? They have concerns for his welfare. His ongoing, I'm sorry, look, here's the thing. It's like, I don't buy it. He's got his ongoing welfare. Fine. He's got his ongoing treatment. Cool. This guy thought a random dude was a Fed, killed him, slit his throat. He could be out there doing it again. Is it just me or does this come across like a real Michael Myers Halloween situation? Anyway. He is described as being of Caucasian appearance, about 178 centimeters tall with short brown hair, and was last seen wearing a gray sweater, black leather jacket, blue jeans, and black shoes. He is known to frequent Sydney's Randwick and Maroubra areas. I can't pronounce that. Police are urging anyone who sees him to not approach him and call 000. Yeah, I know you think. This guy requires ongoing treatments. This guy requires ongoing help. Let's just, do whatever. I hope they catch this guy. I really do. Because I have a feeling if he gets triggered, people are going to die. And obviously the fault of that is on the New South Wales Health Services that decided, hey, you know what? This guy's been incarcerated for 18 years. Clearly he's not all the way there mentally. He's kind of insane. Let's let him out on a day pass. He'll come back, right? The honor system. Sure. Let's hope no one gets hurt in the process because that's not going to end well for anyone. And that actually wraps up today's episode of Milk Carton Mysteries. My name is Matt Jarbo. Thank you again very much for tuning in to these 3 stories. If you have any stories you want me to cover or you want things you want me to look at, head on over to facebook.com/groups/the Milk Carton. You can put them there. You can follow me on Twitter @mjarbo, or you can support the channel, support the show, support the podcast by becoming a sponsor on Anchor FM, by downloading the app, heading over to Anchor FM /Milk Carton Mysteries, or patreon.com/Matt Jarbo. It's a great way to do it. I appreciate everyone who watches, everyone who listens, everyone who pays attention and engages. Milk Carton Mysteries will be back tomorrow with 3 new cases. My name, once again, Matt Jarbo. Have yourself a great day, everybody, and peace out.